I don't think there was any earth-shattering news this week.
I certainly haven't heard any.
So, I guess the Earth hasn't been shattered.
I guess not. That's something we'd probably get like a memo about.
Or we'd die.
Well, death is a memo of sorts.
A memo from the Grim Reaper or something like that. I don't know. Death is a memo sounds like, I don't know, an album title or something. I don't know.
And I'm Lewis Mites.
And this is The Cloister Room, a podcast about Doctor Who and other things. So, as has been said, I think, multiple times, this was your first brush, so to speak, with Jon Pertwee.
Yes.
What'd you think?
I liked him. He was an interesting character. A bit different from, I think, the second Doctor, but in a good way, I want to say. He was, I liked the karate. I'm going to say that. I really liked the karate.
Yeah, I think he's certainly the most violent of doctors.
That's pretty cool, actually. But it was kind of weird, because, like, he's normally, going from place to place, and here he's kind of stuck.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting to see that.
This story, Inferno, it was at the end of the 7th season.
Okay.
That's the season after the War Games. So I believe there were 4 stories in that season. So this was the 4th story of that season, and they had all been set in present-day Earth, or was it present-day Earth? That's a massive controversy that I'm not interested in.
All right.
Yeah.
It actually sort of felt a little bit like Fringe, just because, there was like this government agency that wanted outside advice, I guess, so it had the Doctor on as an advisor.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that, but now that you mention it, I mean, like, Walter in Fringe is very much like the Doctor.
Yeah.
But it's very much like a show other than Doctor Who. I mean, you could probably list some other examples of even Torchwood. It's like a sort of military or paramilitary organization that sort of is based in one area and fights the aliens that come to them.
Right.
Although in this case, that's not what's happening at all in this episode. So I suppose perhaps you didn't get that impression from that episode. But it was very much like aliens come, alien invasion of the week, and the Brigadier and the Doctor sort of fight them off.
Yeah. I was watching it, and I was thinking that, if I'd been a viewer at the time, I was kind of trying to imagine how I would react to seeing the Doctor kind of staying put. And I think I would have felt very differently about it if I hadn't seen him making an effort to get the TARDIS working again. But to see him at least trying to do that, I guess gave me hope that the show might return to the formula it had been sticking to. But I also got the sense that it could easily cross over into, like, Gilligan's Island territory.
Where he's stuck there and he's always trying to escape.
Right. And that was dangerous, I think. But, clearly they did actually eventually get the TARDIS working again. I think that kind of goes without saying. So that's good.
So yeah, I had previously said, and as you may recall, that before the 11th Doctor became my favorite Doctor, the 3rd Doctor was my favorite Doctor.
Right.
And the more I think about that, the more I think maybe it wasn't really the 3rd Doctor that I liked overall. It's just sort of like, I like the idea of the Doctor butting heads with the Brigadier. I like the Brigadier a lot. The Brigadier was a regular feature. He's sometimes referred to as a companion of the Doctor, and some people don't call him a companion because, as you can sort of tell from the story, it's not like he travels with the Doctor or anything like that. If anything, the Doctor is sort of there in an advisory capacity to him.
Right.
The Brigadier, as you may or may not know, first appeared in a couple Second Doctor stories and continued to appear throughout the classic series.
Really?
I think he appeared alongside every Doctor except the First Doctor and the Sixth Doctor. I believe that is the case.
Wow.
And of course, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Although he did have an audio drama in which he appeared with the 8th, and he did recently appear on the Sarah Jane Adventures. Huh. So yeah, he's a character. He's a favorite among classic series fans.
Ah. Well, I had no knowledge of that whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah, I actually really want to check this out now.
Oh yeah, there's also there have been sort of spin-off materials that are specifically about UNIT. I know there was an audio series from Big Finish. There might have been books as well. So yeah, that's for a lot of people, UNIT and the Brigadier are sort of synonymous, even though the Brigadier hasn't been in recent UNIT stories. He's only ever been mentioned offhand. There's a mention of him in the Centauran Stratagem.
Oh yeah? I really? Okay, I'll have to take a look at that.
I believe there was.
Huh.
They're sort of best friends and worst enemies at the same time, and they grow to respect each other over time. So it's a sort of it's an interesting little character arc. Not that you get that much of it from Inferno.
Yeah, they didn't really seem to have all that much interaction, or at least, well, not with this. There was the parallel version, that sort of
the brigade leader.
Yeah. As far as the story itself, though, I don't know. I guess I was expecting more from it, and I don't know why. It just seemed like the Stallman, I think.
Stallman.
Yeah. He seemed really, really motivated to, drill to the whatever, the gas or whatever. And I figured he had some sort of ulterior motive. And I was waiting for that to be revealed, and then there wasn't anything, and I was like, oh, okay. So I don't know. For some reason, I was expecting more.
I can see why you'd think that, but in the end, it just turned out to be his ridiculous stubbornness.
Yeah.
Which is a thing, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
But I feel like there's some sort of complex social critique wrapped up in there that I'm perhaps not getting because I'm not a British person in the 70s. I don't know about you. You're not either, are you?
Not last time I checked.
Okay, well, I feel like during this time especially, Doctor Who was able to do stuff like that because it featured military and government aspects more during the Third Doctor's era than at any other time in its history, so it spent a little bit of time doing that. That may be what's going on. It may be that he's a critique of a certain stereotype of politicians that existed, or public servants, or something of the nature. I don't really know, but I do know that he seems to just be a very broad, one-note character and his entire character is just that he's driven to drill.
Yeah, I definitely got that impression.
The only reason is the stated reason that he wants to get the energy that he thinks he'll be able to get. So he sort of wants power, I guess, or prestige. I mean,
can see that.
That's enough. I mean, he doesn't need to be controlled by an alien or something, although he does end up being turned into some sort of thing.
Yeah, I actually kind of got a lot of the things that were in the episode. I think I would have preferred to sort of get explained a little bit more. But it was very similar to how I felt about the Waters of Mars, where they didn't really spend any time focusing on what it was that was making these people sick or whatever, and instead just focused on other events.
On the sort of drama that results from that.
Right. And I mean, I'm left wondering what this green goo was, and how it affected these people and turned them into things that looked very similar to werewolves.
Yeah, there really is no effort made to explain what's going on, what these creature things want, why this mysterious energy is in the center of the earth, and why in fact it does turn you into a werewolf type person. There's no real effort to do that. And I think one thing I notice about this story, I notice that each time I watch it, I notice it more, is that it seems like there are two entirely different ideas for a story that have been sort of smushed together into one. And one idea for a story is about this whole drilling to the center of the earth thing, and one of them is the Doctor goes to a parallel earth and meets these alternate versions of the people he knows. And I mean, either one of those on its own is an idea that could propel a story.
Right.
But they sort of put them together, and I think it works for the most part, but it does lead to the fact that it's never really fully explored what's going on. All that's really explained is that it's bad that this is going on and that the world is at stake.
Right.
Like in the Waters of Mars, it's the same way.
Yeah, I mean, there I think the main focus of the episode was the Doctor trying to change history. And so I think that they probably focused more on that because it was more important and sort of led to the finale, the end of time.
Yeah.
So I think that, yeah, in that regard, I'm not very bothered that they didn't explain the whole Mars water thingy.
While watching this episode, though, I did think of the Waters of Mars when, during, I guess it was like the 5th and 6th episodes of the story, when the Doctor's in the other world, and he's basically resigned himself to the fact that all of those people are going to die, but he asks them to help him escape.
Right.
He's like, you can't save yourselves, but maybe you can, bust your asses to save me. And I was kind of trying to imagine the 10th Doctor, circa Waters of Mars, in the same situation. And I feel like there are some similarities and there are some major differences. And I feel like, comparatively, this Doctor's kind of a jerk.
Actually, he seemed to mention something about them not being able to cross over to the other universe. But, like, I don't really understand. I mean, was he just lying? Because, I mean, we see, Mickey and Rose, go over to that parallel Earth, and they're fine.
I think he's saying specifically that it would be dangerous if they meet the alternate versions of themselves,
okay.
like in Father's Day. It's always don't touch the baby. The baby is the earlier version of Rose. And in fact, in the classic series, it's called the Blinovitch limitation effect. It's when due to time travel, you meet an alternate version of yourself, bad stuff could happen. And presumably, I think what he's getting at is that the same thing happens if you meet an alternate version of yourself. I don't think anyone from the quote-unquote real world ever met their counterpart from quote-unquote Pete's world. Did they?
Well,
the two Mickeys, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, Mickey and Ricky.
Mickey and Ricky, right. I don't know. I guess I don't have a good answer then.
All right. Yeah, it was just something I noticed, and it was kind of strange. I didn't know. I mean, I couldn't quite tell if the Doctor was just saying that to get them to shut up or something.
Well, I mean, it's an inconsistency. Doctor Who is riddled with it.
Oh, yeah, that happens.
So yeah, overall, the story, like it, dislike it, what?
I'm okay with it. I guess I like it. It's not one of my favorite, but at the same time, it's not one of my least favorite.
Perhaps one of the reasons I enjoy the story so much is that it provides an alternate look at the characters of the Brigadier and Liz, which I guess maybe it's because I have seen them more than you have. Maybe that's one of the reasons I appreciated that more. I don't know. But I enjoy the story overall.
That makes sense. All right.
So, yeah. Unless you have any further to say.
I just, for some reason, well, no, it's because I'm incredibly immature. I noticed how many times they said penetration in this episode. It was
yes,
quite numerous.
You may remember I said I was pretty sure that the sort of suggestions for the 4th Doctor story would be all over the map.
Ah, yes.
Well, initially they were, but then Genesis of the Daleks was sort of the clear victor.
Oh, okay.
Which you've already seen, yes?
Yeah. This is actually the first time I will have, seen the story. Words and language. Yes. That'll be interesting, because I actually would like to see that again, so that's good.
Yeah, it's a good story. It's always worth a repeat viewing. I enjoy it. It may, in fact, be a little bit longer than it needed to be, but cause I think we were saying that last week.
Yeah.
But it's still enjoyable nonetheless. It has giant clams in it.
Ah, yes.
All right, and then the following week, for the 5th Doctor, I suppose we're going to be needing suggestions for that.
Yeah, actually, I can't quite tally them all up, but I think the 5th Doctor might be the one in whom I've seen them. No, I think I may have seen the most 5th Doctor stories of all the Doctors, besides the most recent series, like of the classic series. I think so.
Right. So what you're saying is that of the classic series, the 5th Doctor is the Doctor of whose stories you have seen the most.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
So yeah, you hate Avatar. Is that a stretch?
I wouldn't say I hate it.
Okay.
I just say I deeply loathe it.
Okay.
Which is, I will admit, a synonym for hate.
All right. Well, so seeing it again, that's like an impossibility, yeah?
I wouldn't say it's an impossibility, only that I don't want to.
All right. Well, then I'm just going to talk about the extended edition, sort of, because not much has changed. For as long as the movie was, they didn't add all that much to it. It was like 8 minutes or whatever, but of course, it was like, a 2 hour and 40 minute movie to begin with. So, 8 minutes doesn't really add up to much.
Oh, wait, I have a question for you before you even start.
Okay.
As I only saw the movie once, if I were to watch the extended version, do you think it's likely that I would be able to identify what was new and what was old? I mean, does it noticeably change your perception of the movie or anything? Or is it just like added shots of people grimacing? Like, this fight has like extra grimaces in it. Like, if they added extra grimaces to Star Wars, I would notice the grimaces because I've seen that movie umpteen times. But if they added extra grimaces to a movie I've only seen once, I wouldn't notice. Basically, what I'm asking is this 9 minutes of grimaces.
No. There were no added grimaces, at least not to my knowledge. Actually, there might have been a few.
No, okay.
I would say that for the most part, you would not notice the added footage, except probably at the end. There was one scene at the end that sort of changed my feelings towards one character. Do you recall the hierarchy of leaders or whatever among the Na'vi?
I know the big leader is a tree, right?
Huh?
The tree is the boss. Like, the tree is their god.
Well, okay, yeah, the tree's their god, but I meant like within the clan. There's like the clan leader, and then there's the spiritual leader, and how like the clan leader dies when the tree falls, and so the next guy in line, his name is Sute, and it's really sad that I know him by name.
Well, who doesn't know Sute?
He becomes the clan leader, and then in the fight against the military who are gonna destroy whatever tree it was that they were gonna the Tree of Souls or whatever, he's like shot down, I guess. In the original edition, he just you see him fall and that's it. In the extended edition, they had a scene where they actually find him and he's dying, but he's still alive, like on the ground. And so he actually like sort of passes the role of the clan leader on to Jake. Mm-hmm. He actually like says that, and then he has Jake kill him. And so that was very different when it was put in that sort of context.
Now, this isn't the sex scene, is it?
No.
They don't just...
Thankfully.
Okay.
Yeah, they did that. That was actually one of the extended scenes, unfortunately,
okay.
But it was kind of disturbing. I'm not going to get into that.
Okay, please don't.
I won't. Yeah, so there was that. I mean, most of the added footage was there was a scene, like how they had a school for the Na'vi to teach them English and stuff.
Yes.
You actually see the school. They actually go inside it and they're like collecting supplies or whatever. But I mean, like that's nothing that I really wanted to see. I didn't feel that they needed to elaborate on that. So that wasn't really a big deal for me. They actually explained the floating mountains, which didn't really, well, and they didn't really explain it. What they did was, it was, how like Jake's kind of narrating the whole movie, sort of, through his video blogs or whatever.
Yes.
Well, he sort of mumbles something about a maglev effect because the unobtainium is a superconductor. And so that wasn't really an explanation, although it more of a...
At least they pretended to explain it.
Right. I guess I was bothered by them not explaining the floating mountains, but, I mean, they spent like 10 seconds doing that mumbling thing, and so...
When I saw the movie, the floating mountains were the least of my problems. I saw those mountains a-floating, and I was like, why the heck not? Sure, float away. Doesn't bother me.
Alright. But, other than that, I can't really think of anything else they added.
Is there any more of stereotypical corporate douche guy? Or stereotypical offensive military guy?
No, and I think that would have actually made the film more entertaining. Oh, actually, you know what? There was an additional scene, because you know how like there's like the bulldozer or whatever that comes in and like knocks down a tree or something, and then like Jake gets up and like knocks out the cameras, and they're like WTF, and that's when they like bring him in and they get all angry and stuff. Well, later you see that those bulldozers were set on fire by the Na'vi, and like the people there were killed by the Na'vi. So like it actually sort of makes it seem more like what follows is retaliation for the Na'vi killing the bulldozers. Not killing the bulldozers.
Those innocent bulldozers.
They had families.
You watched the trailer for The Walking Dead, did you not?
I did.
What did you think of it?
I'm interested. I kind of like it. I liked what I saw. Is it based on a comic? That seemed to be what the YouTube comments were suggesting.
It is based on a comic book. I haven't read it. but I've heard very good things about it.
Comics are kind of a medium I've never really explored. Maybe I should.
You just don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole there, though.
All right.
It's easy to, like, get in too deep.
Okay.
So deep you can't get back out.
Do I want to just avoid this altogether?
No, I mean, like, what you want to do is you want to find out what graphic novels people say are good, and then read those. What you don't want to do is, like, start buying the new comic books that come out every month and trying to follow the continuity and stuff like that.
Okay.
I have nothing against people that do that. Just don't.
All right.
It's too much effort to keep up with everything, in my opinion. So, like, if you're going to follow comics, then you're making an important life decision there. But, I mean, checking out some decent graphic novels is certainly worth doing. Have you ever seen 28 Days Later?
No, I haven't.
Okay, because this looks very similar to it in terms of its concept.
Okay.
It involves a person in the hospital who wakes up and finds that the world has been taken over by zombies while he was in a coma, which may seem exactly like what happens in the trailer to you.
Yeah.
So I don't know if one ripped off the other or something, but I can't even really imagine what a zombie TV show would be like.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just so sick of vampire shows and vampire things that I think zombies need their due.
Personally, I'm not that sick of vampire things. I like Buffy, I like True Blood, but I haven't read or watched Twilight, so I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
I gather it's horrible, and I believe that.
Well, you know.
I don't know if zombies have ever been done on TV.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Maybe they have. I can't think of it. When I watch this trailer, it's easy to imagine that you're watching the trailer for a zombie movie.
Right.
This looks like it would be a good movie if it were a movie trailer.
Well, and, you know, I guess I have trouble imagining where you could go with a show like that. Because, I mean, like, you know, with with Buffy. Sure, she fights vampires, but she also fights other monsters. And, you know, there's tons of other monsters that they just sort of come up with for her to fight. So that sort of, you know, can sort of maintain itself. But with the zombies, you know, they're zombies, you know. I don't know if they're going to incorporate other sort of things. I guess they could go the route of, like, Left 4 Dead, where there's, like, special zombies and, you know, it's like they're changing or whatever. I don't know. I just like Left 4 Dead.
It's sustained as a graphic novel series.
Okay.
Like, I mean, the comics are still coming out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not like a Watchmen where it's just one graphic novel. It's an ongoing thing, and I don't know what it's going to be like to come back week after week and watch a zombie show. I certainly think it looks pretty cool, though.
Yeah, I'll definitely give it a look.
It's going to be on AMC, I believe.
Yes. I'll have to figure out how to do that. Sure, I'll find a way.
Do you not get AMC?
I don't really have a cable connection.
Ah, I see. Well,
actually, we kind of might. It's kind of weird. Well, I have a cable, but it's kind of, there's no connector. It like sort of protrudes from the floor, and then it looks like it's been ripped out, sort of.
Interesting.
Like someone got very angry at their cable.
They're just not going to take it anymore. Like, this program is insulting. Call the cable operator. I'll have none of it anymore. And then rips it right out.
So, yeah.
I'm sure you'll find a way to watch this show.
I'm sure that I will.
You want to talk about the Lost thing, yeah?
Yeah, the man in charge.
Did we already talk about that in any capacity on a previous episode? I don't remember.
I feel like we didn't.
I think I might have brought it up when we talked about the finale.
Yeah, probably. And I probably said something to the effect of, oh no, I haven't seen it yet. Please don't spoil it for me. Maybe not necessarily in that tone, but yeah.
But now we're spoiling it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So what did you think?
I liked it. I liked that they went and explained those things. I mean, I kind of got the sense that it was written almost as a joke.
I get that too. all of the answers, I mean, when you finally get them, they seem really unnecessary.
Right.
Like, who was it who made the pallet drop? It's these two guys.
I liked that though, that they demanded answers. That was funny.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
Also, the idea that the DVDs were transferred from an old Betamax.
Yeah, and you know, it was fun just to see Ben again, to see Hurley.
Yeah.
To see Pierre Chang, and even to see Walt.
Yeah, that was kind of, I guess that sort of raised, it didn't really raise any more questions. I mean, just Walt's gonna be there chilling on the island, doing special stuff. Because he's special.
Yeah, it implies that Hurley has some sort of job for him to fulfill in his regime as the island protector / ruler, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I honestly felt, though, that the inclusion of Walt was the only part of that little short episode that did anything for me that I felt the show needed. Like, I feel like we needed to see Walt again and to get his sort of perspective on how these events were going, because he was such an important part of the early seasons of the show.
Right.
And I feel like that's the only thing that added anything. Like, the rest was just answers that were kind of obvious or not all that important and kind of cool to know, but it seemed kind of unnecessary. But the Walt was cool to see.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, like, most of the answers that they gave were kind of unnecessary. But yeah.
They answered the Hurley bird.
They did.
It turned out to be not that surprising.
You know, it's actually, yeah, that's interesting. Like, how do they, like, but, you know, with hybrids, are they messing around with genetics there? That's actually like I'm not going to get into this, but it's like, it reminded me of the premise of the game Impossible Creatures, which is an RTS where you make genetically, you combined the genomes of animals to make your own animals, and then you use them as an army. But that's what it reminded me of. I'm not going to get into that.
You already got into it, Lewis.
I guess so.
You got into it. You're in it.
I liked that game personally, but no one else did.
I don't feel like we have a really good idea of why the Dharma Initiative was creating hybrids. Is that what he said? Is that what he called it?
That is what he called it.
A hybrid. I thought that was kind of funny.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think we have a good idea of why they were doing that, but I also think we don't have a good idea of, why they were doing anything. I feel like they were just experimenting for the sake of, experimenting.
Sure.
Like, let's find out what happens if we do this.
And it could very well be that they could only succeed at these genetic what-have-yous by being on the island, so maybe they took that opportunity to go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll roll with it. Whatever.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it, but they also addressed the pregnancy issue, right?
Right, yeah. That was good of them.
And I mean, that also wasn't terribly surprising either. Like, there's nothing, none of the answers are going to shock you if you've been paying attention, basically.
Right.
So, that's it. And that's the last piece of Lost I guess we'll ever see.
I guess so.
You saw the series of short things on Fringe, right?
I did. Now, it looks like the, if I'm remembering this right, the parallel Olivia came over to what we would say is our side,
yeah,
the normal-ish side, and then our Olivia is stuck over in the parallel world, right?
Yes, and the parallel Olivia is masquerading as the quote-unquote original, or real, or the main Olivia that we've been following throughout the first two seasons.
So, like, it looked like there was one Olivia that was in, like, the meeting with sort of a psychiatrist or whatever, or what is that? Is that what it is? Psychiatrist? Psychologist?
Well, I don't know. Those are different things.
Yeah, I don't know which is which.
Well, I don't know which one the person she's meeting with is.
Fair enough.
I guess the impression is that the Olivia from quote-unquote our world goes to the other world and tries to tell people that she's from another world and isn't received too warmly with that message.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I am really looking forward to the third season of Fringe.
Yeah, me as well.
I've always sort of had, I guess you'd call them mixed feelings about Fringe. I feel like when it's good, it's really good, but it's not always good.
Yeah. Some episodes seem more like fillers than actual sort of good ones.
Yeah, I enjoy the episodes that advance the storyline a lot more than, in general, a lot more than the episodes that are just standalone. Although there have been some good ones of that as well.
Yeah, I liked the musical episode.
I don't know how I felt about that one. It wasn't really a musical episode, was it?
Well, no, it wasn't. But I felt like if it had been a full-on musical episode, I probably wouldn't have liked it as much. But because it was mostly just a normal episode with a few random songs thrown in, I liked it. I thought it worked.
Yeah, it didn't do much for me, but I suppose it did have its good points. I'm hoping that in the third season they will sort of veer more towards the serialized aspect.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I feel like they've been sort of going that way in the second season.
Yeah.
Like, it's become more and more about that.
I would agree with that.
And I want to see plenty of Walter in it.
Yes.
I'll say things. I usually make you say things. I'm going to say them, though.
All right.
If that's all right with you.
Oh, no. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So, I guess we're ending this episode of the Cloister Room. going to be over now. If you have any pressing need to contact us, or you just want to say hello, tell us whether or not you like the podcast, tell us if you do, tell us if you don't, you can email us at thecloisterroom@gmail.com. Or you can leave a comment on the post for this episode at thecloisterroom.com. Or you can send us a tweet at thecloisterroom on Twitter, which you can also follow to get the latest updates on anything having to do with the Cloister Room. There's not much having to do with the Cloister Room. It's not a very complex operation, so we won't bug you that much. But, Lewis, tell the people how they can follow you particularly on Twitter.
On Twitter, you can follow me at MilesBelly.
And you can follow me at T. Dickinson. So, I suppose I, Tom Dickinson, shall say goodbye.
And, yeah, Lewis Midas will say goodbye as well.
Okay, goodbye.
Farewell.